You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Friday. I'm Dalby. This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast. And we made it. We made it through another week. We made it through a Brockless week. I talked to him this morning before the show. He was headed out doing a little bit of fishing off the coast of Cancun. He is on his way back over the course of the weekend. And when you listen to either the show on Monday morning or the podcast Monday afternoon, he will be here in the big chair, and the show will be back to full strength. But thank you to everybody for the kind comments and for listening along the way, both to the podcast and to the live show. It means a lot to us when you guys show up, even when the show is not what it normally is. You know, when it's just Brock, if I'm out sick or on vacation or vice versa, we appreciate every time that you guys turn either of us or both of us on your radios, on your smart speakers, on your podcast. It means the world. With that all said, enough of the mushy. Here's the goods.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
I saw toughest guy in town yesterday. I don't know his name. I don't know who he is. We've never met before, but I have to assume he's the toughest guy in town because he was riding a bicycle. The winter bike guy blows my mind every single time you see it. It does feel like seeing a unicorn. Because while there is winter shorts guy, and we talk about winter shorts guy all the time, winter shorts guy is a fairly popular guy to be. It's weird. People talk about him a lot, but there are a fair number out there. It's a much smaller population when you get to winter bike guy or winter bike gal. Trying to be even here. But I saw yesterday just chugging along, wearing the sort of a fall jacket, I would say, because you never see winter bike guy in the full winter jacket, right? It's too big, too bulky. You can't be biking in a big winter jacket. Imagine seeing somebody out on a 10-speed rocking a parka. It would make sense, but it wouldn't make sense at the same time because that's not who winter bike guy is. Big studded tires out there, going to make sure. I've seen tires on bikes in the wintertime with more grip than some of you have on your tires on your car. Some of you are driving around on summer tires, bald-ass summer tires, trying to get from point A to point B, putting us all at risk. Winter bike guy would never. Winter bike guy's out here. He's got spikes. He's got grip. He's got tread. Some of you need to take notes from winter bike guy. I do wonder who's the toughest, though, because winter bike guy dresses up for it. It's an aerobic endeavor. I gets the heart going, gets the blood pumping. You got to be tough to be winter bike guy. But I will say winter shorts guy is usually just standing around in the cold. Never seems to be bothered by it. Winter bike guy is not having the most fun they've ever had on a bike. They're doing it to get in shape or because they have a DUI. But winter shorts guy is just choosing to live this life. So, I think there's an argument to be made. Which one truly is the toughest winter guy?
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This one says, I have a neighbor in the country. The year-round, we go for a 7 a.m. and a 5 p.m. walk. Good for you. That's fantastic. Says he wears nothing but a pair of short shorts. I think he's crazy. Is he not wearing a shirt? Because I'll say that. I have seen winter shorts guy. Also, usually, winter shorts guy is usually rocking jorts of some description. Short shorts is another level. And if he's also not wearing a shirt, it may actually be crazy. Like, he may actually need to talk to a professional. Friend of the show, Matt, texted in, I've actually seen winter bike and shorts guy around. Total unicorn. The idea of doing both is wild. Because, again, winter shorts guy usually wears jorts or some other thick material to provide warmth to what little area is covered. Meanwhile, summer bike guy in shorts is usually spandexed up super tight. You know, that's the bike life. The idea of seeing someone rocking bike shorts in the wintertime is just like, I would never fight that person. I would assume that nothing I'm capable of physically could hurt somebody who's that dead inside. Another winter person to be added to sort of the roster of winter specialties comes from Tim. Winter barbecue guy. I respect winter barbecue guy. I wish I could be winter barbecue guy. goes outside, doesn't matter if it's currently snowing, middle of a blizzard, 6 feet of snow on the back deck. There's always a path from the door, from the sliding glass, whatever it is that gets you from inside the house to outside where the barbecue is. Always a nice little well-shoveled path. He's just standing there, having the time of his life, shirt on, shorts on, got the flipper in one hand, the beer in the other, and that family's eating good. All the jokes about winter shorts guy, winter bike guy, winter jogging guy, someone else texted in, winter barbecue guy is a king and deserves to be treated as such. Robert brought up another person because Robert says, I'm winter shorts and t-shirt guy. That's crazy. But he also says he drives a snowplow for work. He's an AC on in the wintertime guy. And I kind of get it. If you're in the car for a long stretch of time, you don't need the heat on. Eventually, the inside of the vehicle warms up and you come to that sort of equilibrium temperature. But when you get into somebody's car in the wintertime, even if they've been driving for a while and they full on have the AC on, they're keeping it cold on purpose. You just have to look at the person and go, is everything okay? Can I offer you a chat with a professional? Why do you hurt yourself this way?
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Nostalgia does crazy things to us. We remember things as being way cooler than they ever actually were because they remind us of a time when things were simpler. I saw the other day that we have actually just passed the 25-year anniversary of the first airing of Budweiser's What Up commercials, which, if you don't remember, sounded a little something like this.
What's up with you? Nothing. Watching the game, having a bud. True. What's up? What's up? Yo, who's that?
Yo, pick up the phone.
Hello? What's that? What's up?
And it goes on like that for another full 30 seconds. These were 60-second, full-minute commercials that completely dominated pop culture for a significant period of time. People would greet each other for years to come. There would be many more variations of this exact commercial of people just going, it took off. And I was trying to explain this to my children yesterday. As the three of them were gathered around, I was like, see, this is why people say, what's up? What's up? Like, this is why it's a thing, is this commercial. And they sat and they watched. And at the end, they looked at me with a look in their eyes that I can only explain as sympathy. And I realized, it's like, I don't know why this commercial swept the nation the way that it did. Why we got so wrapped up in just a bunch of dudes on a bunch of landlines all yelling at each other.
What's up?
But for a while, that was peak television.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Very excited because we've got football coming up this weekend. NFL playoff action, baby. And listen, I don't know who's going to win the games. I was cheering for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were unceremoniously evicted from the playoffs last weekend. So what do I know? If you want an expert's opinion, there are places to do that. Mostly ESPN, TSN, Sportsnet. We are a little fond of Sportsnet here. And then, all the gambling websites. But if you want an alternative look at who's going to win these games, I've got a way that I'm going to try and break it down. This is how I'm making my picks for this weekend's divisional games in the NFL playoffs. I'm picking based on which city has the best food, which players are the best fed. Because when you're well-fed, you're a well-oiled machine, you're able to get out there and play properly. For example, the first matchup on the AFC side is going to be the Houston Texans, 4 seed, coming in against the number 1 defending Super Bowl champion, Taylor Swift, Kansas City Chiefs. And it's super easy to pick against Kansas City because the whole Taylor Swift thing, if you want to get wrapped up in that. But a city known for its rich barbecue tradition, smoked briskets, all these things that Kansas City is famous for, Missouri barbecue. Kansas City is obviously going to beat the Houston Texans. I love Tex-Mex cuisine, but obviously you take the barbecue and the Kansas City Chiefs. Stay in the AFC, go to the Sunday game. That's the Buffalo Bills taking on the Baltimore Ravens. And you're going to tell me that a bunch of guys eating nothing but crab cakes are going to beat the Buffalo Wings? Get out of here with that pick. It's Buffalo and Kansas City moving on to the conference finals. Go to the NFC. You got the Washington Generals, and you got the Washington Commanders, and you got the Detroit Lions. Now, this one's a little bit different. I had to do some looking up, different websites. A lot of places talk about Washington, D.C., being famous for something called the half smoke. It's a half pork, half beef sausage, smoked, served with chili, onions, mustard. That sounds delicious. But Detroit-style pizza, coney dogs, so many delicious things in Detroit, the Motor City. I take the Lions to win this one because I don't know what a half smoke is, but I know Detroit pizza is delicious. And finally, you have the LA Rams against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't even care what they eat in LA these days. I don't care what the signature dish is. A Philadelphia cheesesteak will fuel an army to win a battle, and that's why the Eagles are moving on. So if you want to know the real picks, never mind the stats, the standings, the seeds, the matchups, you take Kansas City barbecue, you take Buffalo wings, you take Detroit-style pizza, and a Philadelphia cheesesteak, and you put that on your ticket. Delicious.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
I saw Douglas Ford rocking his new Canada is not for sale hat at a press conference. I do appreciate his bluster when it comes to standing up against Donald Trump's rhetoric about Canada becoming a state or whatever nonsense that he's on about. Say whatever you want about Douglas and his politics. The man's never been afraid to say what's on his mind. I would actually be riveted to the television to watch an election-style debate between Doug Ford and the Don. But I do have one takeaway I'd like to share. It's not a negative about Doug Ford. It's just an observation. Can we stop using hats to get our message across about important things? Like, throw your company logo, sports team, beer preference. There's lots of stuff that looks good on hats. I'm a big hat guy. I love a good hat. But it just feels like Canada is not for sale is too important of a message to be cheaply stitched onto a hat. And I know that there's a company in Ottawa that's making these things, and they're blowing up right now. And I'm not trying to knock that man's hustle. Get your money where you can. But it feels weird to see grown men wearing hats with campaign slogans on them. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I know it's a response because of the Make America Great Again hats, the MAGA hats, giving Trump a taste of his own medicine, blue hats instead of red hats. I get all of it. I understand it. But there's also just something weird about, like, in a time where we're talking about an upcoming provincial election and an upcoming Canadian federal election, to have an important political figure, again, love him or hate him, like Doug Ford, standing up for a photo op looking like he is the coach of a Little League team called Canada's Not for Sale. It makes the whole thing feel just a little bit unserious. I don't know what the better way to go. Like, obviously with politics, it used to be all about pins and bumper stickers and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's a better look, but I'm done with the hat propaganda.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Let's get into some Tool time today for a chance to win $100 in tickets from our friends at Lotto Max and OLG. $55 million jackpot tonight. 4 Max Millions up for grabs. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to win all that money if you had $100 in tickets because you were the best chainsaw that you could be? Chainsaw's the tool we're looking for on Tool Time today. So we've got our contestants on the line. We'll give them a shot. 1, 2, 3. Whoever does the best chainsaw chosen by you and me is going to win the $100 in tickets. Let's go to line number 1. Brock and Dalby Show. Who's this?
Hi, it's Leslie.
Hi, Leslie. How you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. Leslie, you know how these games work. You know Tool Time. Do you think you got a chainsaw in you today?
We'll give it a shot.
All right. This is what we're looking for. And again, you got lots of options with it, so feel free to get creative. Leslie, go for it.
All right.
Hot start, Leslie. Very well done. Let me put you on hold. That's That's what the energy we're looking for on a Friday with Tool Time. Let's go to line number 2. Brock and Dalby Show. Who's this?
Hey, brother, how are you?
I'm good. Is this Brother Jay?
You know it.
All right, Brother Jay. We're playing Tool Time. We're looking for a chainsaw. This is what we're looking for. But you got all the control in the world to get creative with it. You think you got it?
I do.
All right, let's hear it. Damn. All right, Brother Jay. Well done. Put him on hold. Hot game today. This might be the best Tool Time that we've done yet. Where was this energy all week long? Line number 3. Who's wrapping it up for me?
Zane.
Zane, how are you today, man?
I'm good.
Zane, we're playing Tool Time today. I'm not going to lie. You're in tough because both Leslie and Jay killed it today. All right, cool. Here's what the chainsaw sounds like. Zane, whenever you're ready, let's hear what you got.
Okay. Darren Poulins.
Had some trouble at the start, but we got there in the end. Zane, well done. 3 fantastic efforts on Tool Time today as we were looking for a chainsaw, and we're going to check the text line here. We're back and forth. We're back and forth between line 1 and line 2. Sorry to Zane, but I'm definitely going to say it's between 1 and 2. Leslie. Okay, Leslie texted in her own vote. Leslie, I see you. That does not count. How many phones do you got here? Let's see here. This says the second one. Did he say coolant? Chainsaws don't have coolant. There's no coolant. Zane is getting roasted a little bit here. But overall, the votes are coming in fast and furious now for line number 2. Well done, Brother Jay.
Thank you, Brother Dalby.
People like
and all you fans out there.
People like the 2-stroke sound that you had going there, and they have chosen
well,
you.
know, I have to tell you, Dalby, I've been running chainsaws for about 30 years of my life, so.
This is just part of who you are then.
Kind of, sort of.
Well, we appreciate
I was
you calling
actually
in.
doing that with my arse cheeks, eh?
Oh, Jesus, Jay.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Maybe you've seen this. Last weekend, the Green Bay Packers went to Philadelphia to play the Eagles in an NFL playoff game, and they got worked like a 9-to-5. But in the stands, video came out of an Eagles fan berating a couple of Packers fans, telling them to shut up and cussing at them, even dropping a bunch of C-sharps on the female fan, calling her ugly. It was nasty stuff. So the video goes viral, as they all do, and Buddy immediately becomes an internet villain. The stadium bans him for life. The Eagles denounce him, banned for life. They even sent Packers merch to the Green Bay fans to say sorry about their fan. And then, of course, as the internet will do, people figured out who the guy is, figured out his full name, figured out where he works, complained to his job, and apparently he's been canned. He is now unemployed. He's come out and apologized for his behavior. He has tried to say that the Green Bay fans kind of started it, but he's also like, I shouldn't have said what I said. But the whole thing, it got me thinking because, man, this guy sucks. Like, there's just no two ways about it. To talk to a stranger that way over a football game, whether they started it or not, the things he said are crazy. Your team is winning by a mile and you are yelling and telling people to shut up or fight you. It tells a lot about who the guy is as a person. But it doesn't it feel like a lot to also lose your job, like your livelihood, over chirping at a sporting event? And I'm not even saying necessarily that I don't think that he deserves it. I think the company has the right to say, okay, now our name is associated with this person and we don't agree with the way he conducts himself. But I always think when I see these kinds of stories, like, what happens to this guy now? Will another company in the same field hire him? His name is out there. If you get his resume and Google his name, you're going to see that he's that person. He's still a PR risk, at least until his 15 minutes of fame go away. Does he have to, like, get a job at a car wash until the heat dies down? Rodeo clown, maybe? Something where no one will see your face. You know, no one cares about your name. You can work under an alias. It does go to show, though, life is a lot better when you follow the golden rule, which, as we all know, is don't be a dick. Also, I'll tell you right now, no way is this as big of a deal if he doesn't drop those C-bombs. It's just, you can't say that one, man. Not out in public, at least, with cameras around. Outside of racial slurs, that's the biggest thing you just can't say. You're from Philadelphia, not Australia. That's not your word, pal.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Justice says, just think about the things that you say to other drivers when you're on the road. And fair point. Like, I'm never the type to get out and argue with another driver or anything like that. Road rage is not an option when it comes to, like, actually interacting with the other driver. But, like, when somebody comes and, like, cuts me off, or, like, oh my God, when you almost get hit, someone runs a light or something like that, the words that will come out of your mouth in that instant, directed at or at least about a person you have never met in your life. You know nothing about them other than, in that moment at the very least, they have no idea what they're doing behind the wheel of a vehicle. It's just like you will start spewing obscenities, cuss words, insults. You will wish harm and pain upon somebody. And then you just kind of go back to living your life. Like, you just revert back to your default state once you get it out of your system. Sports is definitely another one, to a point, at the game or at the bar watching the game, whatever it might be. For fans, if you see somebody else wearing the logo, jersey, hat, whatever, of your rival team, you will immediately engage in banter, or at the very least in your head, you will come up with, like, things that you have decided about this person based solely on the team that they cheer for. And taking it a step farther, once you're in sports, like, the chirping that goes on, even at lower levels, like when you get the mic'd up footage from hockey games, from football games, NFL, NHL, all that stuff, the things that these guys are saying to each other are wild. But even going all the way down to, like, the intramural level, like local recreational adult intramural sports, the things that I have heard. I used to play when I lived in Edmonton. I used to play in a dodgeball league twice a week. It was just grown-ups playing dodgeball. It could not have meant less in the overall scheme of the world. But we had fun, and people got so competitive. I would watch grown men and women shout and scream obscenities at one another, debating over whether or not somebody's foot got touched by a red rubber ball and they had to go sit on a bench until the next game started. There's just something about competitiveness that makes us decide, I don't know you, but I am willing to be horrible to you.
For more Brock and Dalby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast is brought to you by badshop.ca, the Brock and Dalby merch store, with all proceeds going to the Canadian Cancer Society.